The next page is the front cover of Dreamcast Magazine. It features Sega Smash Pack, Confidential Mission, Unreal Tournament, Crazy Taxi 2, and Spider-Man, with a large image of Sonic the Hedgehog. The cover also highlights exclusive reviews, previews and updates for these games. There's also a competition to win over £1,000 worth of prizes. Looks like a jam-packed issue. What? This page is the contents page of Dreamcast Magazine, launching on April 19, 2001, in the UK. The cover game is Giant Killers, a football management sim, featuring a goalkeeper's gloves and a football. The contents section highlights several games, including Spider-Man, with the promise of unveiling more about the sticky-handed hero. We've got a newscast section covering Crazy Taxi 2. The forecast section teases games virtually ready to be duplicated by Mr. Sega. Also mentioned are Unreal Tournament, Confidential Mission, Alone in the Dark 4, Shenmue 2, UFC Tap Out, and NASCAR for a special arcade feature. This page contains the contents for the magazine issue. You've got a rundown of top walkthroughs with over 10,000 cheats and tips, including games like Army Men Sarge's Heroes, Aerowings, Armada, Crazy Taxi, Dino Crisis, Echo the Dolphin, 4x4 Evolution, Grandia 2, Hidden and Dangerous, Incoming, Legacy of Kain, Looney Tunes Space Race, Nomad Soul, Omicron, Power Stone 2, Quake 3, Resident Evil, Shenmue, Superspeed Racing, Tomb Raider, Urban Chaos, Virtua Tennis, WWF Royal Rumble and Zombie Revenge. Also featured are sections for game reviews, interact features, and the magazine's directory. It provides phone numbers for accessing cheats, separated for adults and minors, and promotes the cheatsunlimited.com website. The next page kicks off with newscast, serving up hot-off-the-press Dreamcast rumors, gossip, and snippets. The editorial reflects on the month's happenings, shooting action with Confidential Mission, and web-slinging with Spider-Man, and teases exclusive previews of Crazy Taxi 2 and Sonic Adventure 2, alongside Floygan Brothers, K-Project, and Shenmue 2. The newscast highlights point to details on Shenmue 2, Monkey Ball, and Somala version 2. The big story is Crazy Taxi 2, promising all the latest details on Sega's crazy upcoming release. It mentions new screenshots, a 4-player mode, and new cabbies, including Slash, Iceman, Cinnamon, and Hot, with their stats and backgrounds. The page also features screenshots from the game, and comments that it's undoubtedly the craziest game of the year. This page of newscast starts with rumors of a possible PS2 port for the racing game MSR, and Sega's Dreamcast titles set to appear at the Spring Tokyo Game Show, including The Typing of the Dead, Get Bass, Sega Marine Fishing, and Baldur's Gate 2, plus Smilebit's 100 Swords and Sakura Taisen 2. Following the death of Sega chairman Isao Okawa, Sega's share price experienced a notable drop. Capcom has confirmed the release of Capcom vs. SNK Millennium Fight 2000 Pro. Sega Park in Sydney is set to be auctioned off due to a lack of customers, and the magazine mentions their enjoyment of Sega's Confidential Mission light gun game and Infogrames Unreal Tournament, also mentioning that Simon will be jetting off to LA to cover the E3 show in May. The page focuses on Shenmue 2 details, revealing the ability to use data and objects collected from the first game, pawn unwanted items for cash or trade, and potentially play classic arcade games like Outrun or Afterburner, along with arm wrestling and dice-rolling minigames. Game On for Ryo features screenshots of a minigame in Shenmue 2 where you can win stuff. There's a small section advertising DVD and Total Game Boy magazines. Finally, it reports on the tragic death of Sega's chairman and founder, Isao Okawa, and the start of filming for the Resident Evil movie, Resident Evil: Ground Zero, starring Milla Jovovich. This page of newscast opens with Virtua Striker 3 screenshots and details, boasting enhanced graphics thanks to Naomi 2 hardware. There's talk of an upcoming UFC sequel by Crave, promising more fighters, moves, and improved graphics. A small section called Most Wanted teases upcoming titles like Spider-Man, Confidential Mission, and Virtua Tennis 2. The page then takes a downturn with Sinking Feeling, discussing Metro 3D halting Dreamcast development for titles like Armada 2 and Dark Angel, Vampire Apocalypse. Lost That Soul covers the cancellation of Soul Reaver 2 on Dreamcast, shifting development to the PlayStation 2. Warrington Man in the Pub features a light-hearted column, and there's also a timeline teasing upcoming game releases like Crazy Taxi 2, Commandos 2 and K-Project. The next page of newscast kicks off with Sega losing the plot concerning Daytona USA 2001, announcing the European version won't have online play, despite being fully network compatible in Japan and the US. A bunch of excuses about heavy scheduling commitments are made. Virtually Maybe discusses the possibility of Virtua Fighter 4 gracing the Dreamcast, with Yu Suzuki commenting that its appearance depends on graphics not being compromised and Sega of Japan approving its release, which might be a bit of a long shot. In Your Dreams, dreams of Radiant Silvergun coming to the Dreamcast. Thieves in the Night covers Promethean designs dropping games, including Picasso and Fortress, with the Dreamcast versions of games canned. Fortress, The Evolution, will instead appear on the Game Boy Advance, and the reviewer sarcastically remarks the Xbox and PlayStation 2 are ready and waiting for Picasso. Finally, Lost Souls announces that Soul Calibur 2 will never see the light of day on our favored box of wonders, and instead is heading to the PlayStation 2, a crushing blow. This UK Charts update page features a Dreamcast game release schedule, including titles like Giant Killers and Sonic Adventure 2. An article discusses the state of the Dreamcast Online community, questioning its longevity despite increased sales post. The announcement. The top sellers on eb.uk.com are listed, highlighting Phantasy Star Online. Alien Front Online is discussed, praising its visual appeal and anticipation. A missing section laments unreleased games like Drones. A competition for a Sonic Shuffle copy is also featured. The next page presents a collection of new snippets about upcoming PC games potentially heading to the Dreamcast. Zoo Tycoon and Dungeon Siege are highlighted, with the reviewer expressing doubt about their Dreamcast releases. Monkey Ball is raved about, especially its unique banana-styled joystick. Dynamic Golf is speculated to be Virtua Golf. Finally, the bizarre-sounding Inu no Osampo, Walk the Dog, is joked about, with the reviewer stating that there will be no chance of the game ever reaching British shores. Angelina Jolie as Lara Croft graces the page with a Tomb Raider movie poster, and the reviewer lightheartedly suggests working out the plot for yourself if you've played the game. This page is a news roundup. Alone in the Dark 4's release date is causing some surprise, and there's a note about the French liking to eat horses, which the magazine finds a bit unnerving. Eldorado Gate on Capcom is being shortened from 24 episodes to 7, and Roswell Conspiracy Theories has been canned for the Dreamcast, but will still appear on the PlayStation and Game Boy Color. It ends with an advert for TotalGames.net, a UK video games website, showing various consoles including the Dreamcast, PS1, PlayStation 2, GameCube, Nintendo 64, Game Boy and Xbox. This page starts with a section called Newscast, and a bargain basement section highlighting Dreamcast deals. You could grab a Dreamcast, Ferrari 355 Challenge, Ducati World, Who Wants to Be a Millionaire, and a steering wheel for £150 at Toys R Us. Alternatively, UKGames.com offers bundles including a Dreamcast, Soul Calibur, Tomb Raider 4, Sega Rally 2, WWF Attitude, Sonic Adventure, and Choo Choo Rocket for £109.99. Game is offering 17.5% off games with its Splat the VAT promotion, with MDK2 at £9.99. Then, there's news that Sega of America won't be releasing Take the Bullet, a European title. Phantasy Star Online version 2 is coming with extras, including new levels, bosses, and 3 new modes: Battle, Scavenger Hunt, and Capture the Flag. It will also feature new mags and an ultimate difficulty setting, raising the level cap to 200. Under the heading DC.TV, the WWF Royal Variety Performance Rumble is advertised with blissed celebrities in Lycra, apparently. Finally, Arcades Coined Out discusses the uncertain future of the arcade business, with reports of Capcom and Midway potentially pulling out of the market. Capcom will focus on home consoles, and Midway had a poor financial year, making staff redundant. The page concludes with an image of the PlayStation 2 console and text promoting Play magazine. This page is an advert for gameplay, bursting with Dreamcast consoles, games, and accessories. You could pick up a Dreamcast console with Tomb Raider 4, Sonic Adventure and Wafer Striker for £119.99, or a console with Choo Choo Rocket for £97.99. Featured titles include Phantasy Star Online for £32.99, Shenmue for £24.99, MSR for £19.99 and Grandia 2 for £34.99. There's a dizzying as of Dreamcast games at now even lower prices, including Resident Evil 2 now only £12.99, Silent Scope now only £17.99, Street Fighter Alpha 3 now only £14.99 and Tomb Raider Chronicles now only £9.99. Dreamcast essentials like the VMU, joypad, keyboard and mouse are all going for £19.99 each. Alternatively, you could grab some purple soundstation speakers, Joytech 4MB memory card, or a Mad Catz MC2 Dreamcast wheel. There are also new releases like Championship Surfer and Sonic Shuffle, and pre-orders like Half-Life and Sonic Adventure 2, all available for free delivery on release day. Gameplay are offering £5 off your next online order if you open an account. How very generous of them. This page is a snapshot of Dreamcast happenings around the world. Starting with import charts, Phantasy Star Online has been knocked off the top spot in Japan by Sakura Wars 3. The US Dreamcast Top 5 sees Daytona, USA, 2001 at number 1. In US news, Sega is launching a competition via Sega.com called What's Your Handle, where you can win a copy of 18-wheeler, American Pro Trucker, or even a full-sized arcade machine. There is also a new multi-platform gaming network from ex-Sega staff, named New Millennium Entertainment. Meanwhile in Japan, Sega has released its very own karaoke add-on for the Dreamcast, Sega Kara. Dreamcast sales have rocketed due to the price cut. Sales of the Dreamcast went through the roof, even outselling the ever-popular PlayStation 2. Capcom is celebrating the 5th anniversary of Resident Evil with a special limited edition pack in Japan named Nightmare Returns, stuffed with games and goodies. Sega is holding its own show, Game Jam, on April 14th and 15, featuring Shenmue 2, Crazy Taxi 2, Sonic Adventure 2 and Phantasy Star Online version 2. The next page showcases a preview of Unreal Tournament for the Dreamcast. The reviewer is clearly excited, stating that the game kicks ass big time and could potentially knock Quake 2 Arena off its pedestal. They praise the game's speed and the sheer amount of content, including numerous character skins and levels. Favorite aspects include Capture the Flag, being rewarded for kills, and the satisfying headshots. The preview emphasizes that Unreal Tournament offers a significant upgrade over Quake 2 Arena, with better graphics and more weapons. The multiplayer aspect is also highlighted, with the promise of online play for up to 7 people. Unlike Daytona USA, 2001 apparently. The page also features a competition to win NBA hoops, asking the question, what was the name of Midway's first madcap Dreamcast basketball game? This page features a preview of the Spider-Man game on Dreamcast, with the bold statement, "He's the king of the concrete jungle, but is the amazing Spider-Man about to come unstuck?" It contrasts Spider-Man with other heroes, suggesting he is more relatable, because he's just a regular guy, Peter Parker, who gained powers from a radioactive spider. The article mentions villains Scorpion and Rhino, and the possibility of Doc Ock and Venom appearing, also highlighting Black Cat and Daredevil. The game is described as a 3D platformer, blended with beat-em-up action and adventure elements. There are screenshots showcasing gameplay and some of the bosses. This page dives into the Spider-Man game, claiming the Dreamcast version looks as though the comic book has been shoehorned onto a GEC drum. It details the contrived storyline, which sees Spider-Man framed for a crime he didn't commit, leading him to find the real culprit while dodging villains and the police. Early code includes the first 3 levels, with the Dreamcast version hoped to have bonus content. The review highlights the super smooth graphics and audio, though some cutscenes are ropies. Stan Lee and original cast members lend their vocal talents, and the control system, lifted from Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 2, works well. The anticipation rating is at 90%, claiming it could be one of the best DC games. The next page features Confidential Mission, a light gun shooting game for the Dreamcast. The reviewer notes that it's about time Sega released another title for the light gun, as many had already invested in it. The game involves saving the world from terrorists as a Bondesque spy. It offers 3 levels set in an archaeological museum, on a train, and at the terrorist's base. The game also includes skill tasks, such as shooting a zip line and firing a gum gun to avoid being gassed. The reviewer expects the Dreamcast conversion to be as good as its arcade counterpart. The bottom right shows a tank vehicle. Other games are shown on the left side of the page, which include Crazy Taxi, Virtua Tennis, Virtual On 1, Air Tricks and Derby Owners Club 2000 Piazzi. This page features an academy training section, focusing on ways to get better at the game, Confidential Mission. It details 6 different skill tests within the game, designed to sharpen the player's shooting abilities. These include Justice Shot, Judgment, Reflexes, Who's the Enemy, Timing, and Combo Shot. The reviewer highlights the appeal of the Agent Academy mode, offering a chance to improve shooting skills, as well as the partners mode. Alongside this is an advertisement for a SoundStation speaker system, priced at £39.99. The ad includes quotes from various publications, praising the sound quality and value. There's also an advert for the DreamStation, a storage unit for the Dreamcast console, priced at £19.99, and the Inspector Cheats UK's #1 cheat service, with phone numbers for access to cheat codes for over 4,000 games on PlayStation, PlayStation 2, Nintendo, Dreamcast, Game Boy, PC, Sega, Saturn. The cheat codes page lists a bunch of games from A to Z, for the cheat lines, with many more games available, such as Aero Wings, Biohazard 2, Legacy of Kain, Marvel vs. Cap.com, Pop N Music, Quake, Rainbow Six, and Worms. This page is a review of eSports NASCAR Arcade for the Sega Dreamcast. The reviewer seems less than impressed, describing the gameplay as incredibly and monumentally boring, suggesting even die-hard NASCAR fans might find little to enjoy. They compare it unfavorably to Daytona USA. The page also features details on the game's courses, including Talladega, Richmond, and Watkins Glen, each offering a different level of challenge, plus a who's who of NASCAR, featuring bios of Dale Earnhardt, Ricky Rudd, Jeff Gordon, Kyle Petty, Jeffrey Bodine, and Dale Jarrett. The next page is an advertisement for a ScreenBeat SoundStation 2, a 300W subwoofer speaker system for PlayStation 2 and multimedia use, compatible with various devices, including PlayStation 2, PlayStation, PC, minidisc, compact disc, DVD players, and MP3 players. It's available from leading video game retailers. This page features a review of Stunt GP for the Dreamcast, accompanied by screenshots of the game. The Dream Team section humorously discusses what members of the Dreamcast Magazine team will be doing after the magazine closes, including Simon Phillips, Alex Warren, Nick Trent, Karen Hollocks, Chandra Nair, Will Johnston, Simon Griffin, and Saul Truan. The Dreamcast Opinions section includes a rating system that judges visuals, sounds, gameplay, and value, resulting in an overall score of 66%. Additional reviews include Charge and Blast, Coaster Works, Iron Aces, Pro Pinball Trilogy, Rogue Spear, How to Play Not PAL Games, Sega Smash Pack, Fire Pro Wrestling D, Guilty Gear X, and Cannon Spike. This page presents a review of Stunt GP, a remote-controlled car game for the Dreamcast, and features several screenshots showcasing the gravity-defying stunts and tracks. The reviewer remarks on the game's variety of tracks and stunts, noting that it's packed with content and has a wealth of tricks to perform. They do, however, mention a complaint about the Stunt Bowl mode. This page presents a review of the game Stunt GP, opening with the humorous line, "Like making love to a beautiful woman." The review examines the game's visuals, sounds, gameplay, and value, ultimately giving it an overall score of 80%. The reviewer praises the graphics, but is less impressed with the sound, which apparently consists of droning engine noises and generic American rock guitar. It notes that the game suffers from frame rate issues and concludes that while it's an ace game, it has some annoying problems. The page also includes a Beat the Competition section, with various prizes up for grabs, including a PlayStation 2 with games, a portable television, a MIDI hi-fi, a PC, a laptop, WWF merchandise, a Nintendo 64, MP3 players, mobile phones, a city scooter, a Dreamcast console, Seededs, a Discman, and Pokémon trading cards. The next page features a review of Charge and Blast for the Dreamcast, kicking off with a humorous, sarcastic tone. The reviewer notes the game's short length, claiming they beat it in under 10 minutes. It acknowledges the decent visuals, but finds the overall experience lacking, especially the lack of extras. The review also introduces the characters Johnny Rock, Pamela Hewitt, and Nicholas Woods. The reviewer sums up the game as not worth the hard-earned cash. There is a 10 minutes and counting section, which sarcastically lists alternative activities better than playing Charge and Blast. The page also features a Dreamcast rating, giving visuals 84%, sounds 53%, gameplay 37%, and value 11%, for an overall score of 46%. The concluding sentence states that great graphics don't make a decent game. There is also a section recommending other games, like Gunbird 2 and MDK2. This page presents a review of Coaster Works for the Dreamcast, describing it as a roller coaster construction simulation game. The reviewer speaks about designing the scariest ride possible, and says you don't need an engineering degree to play. It is said to require building roller coasters at various parks while meeting safety, speed, and G-force requirements, and is rated based on how many people feel queasy, throw up, or black out. The reviewer thinks there isn't enough to do and it becomes stale before long, and that it is more basic compared to Theme Park World. The info burst section mentions that you don't need an engineering degree to be good at the game. The review also includes a "you gotta roll with it" section providing facts about roller coasters. The judgment section says the game is strangely compelling with online features, but with poor graphics and sounds. There are alternatives mentioned such as Railroad Tycoon 2 and Giant Killers. The Dreamcast rating gives visuals 51%, sounds 41%, gameplay 77%, and value 51%, for an overall score of 56%. This page is a review of the Dreamcast game Iron Aces, describing it as a WW2 dogfighter that's set to fly high, despite the Dreamcast's limited catalogue of flight sims. The reviewer notes the game's fictional theatres of war, which creates a confusing feel given its historical basis, but acknowledges that the airborne action is enough to make you forget the flaws. They also admit that there are some dodgy-looking cutscenes. The gameplay is arcade-leaning, with simple controls, realistic combat, and varied environments. The judgment section says the game is fast-paced with good in-flight graphics, but has a ridiculous fantasy setting. The Dreamcast rating is 71%, with visuals at 73%, sounds at 60%, gameplay at 74%, and value at 68%. Alternatives mentioned are Aerowings 2, Airstrike, and Starlancer. The next page presents a review of Pro Pinball Trilogy for the Dreamcast. The reviewer humorously states they won't be swayed with comments about the game's shiny little balls. It reminisces about pinball video games in the days of old, highlighting Pinball Dreams, Pinball Fantasies, and Psycho Pinball as titles that fueled their love for the genre. The reviewer describes the gameplay of Pro Pinball Trilogy, covering the tables available and how the object remains simple: fire the ball and score points. They mention the Time Shock, Big Race USA, and Fantastic Voyage tables. Despite some cynicism, the reviewer acknowledges the game's addictive nature. The judgment section praises the game's addictiveness and value, but notes repetition and the limited number of tables. A second opinion calls it utterly brilliant and addictive. Pro Pinball Trilogy gets an overall Dreamcast rating of 81%, with individual scores for visuals, 77%, sounds, 76%, gameplay, 92%, and value, 80%. Alternatives mentioned are Worms World Party and Choo Choo Rocket. This page features a review of Rainbow Six Rogue Spear for the Dreamcast, questioning if the player has what it takes to join the forces and save the world. It mentions the original Rainbow Six on the Dreamcast was a bit of a letdown, but this sequel aims to improve. The reviewer discusses the game's atmospheric, lifelike simulation, where one mistake can mean instant death. Each mission requires careful planning, and teamwork with AI-controlled teammates is essential. The reviewer notes that the graphics are a bit ropey, and that the lack of online play is a drawback. Micah Sullivan is quoted as saying, "You will need to work in tandem with your AI-controlled teammates to succeed, but this becomes second nature." The game includes a tutorial to hone skills in shooting, clearing rooms, and planning ahead. The judgment section praises the suspenseful action and replay value, but critiques the graphics and lack of online play. Simon Phillips calls it an improvement over its predecessor, but notes it's still a grubby-looking shoot-'em-up. Rainbow Six Rogue Spear receives a Dreamcast rating of 77%, with individual scores for visuals, 67%, sounds, 70%, gameplay, 85%, and value, 80%. Alternatives mentioned are the original Rainbow Six and Quake 2 iArena. The page also features an info burst about Tom Clancy and his books that inspired games like Rainbow Six. This page imagines George W. Bush giving advice on playing not PAL Dreamcast games. He jokes about playing Japanese games with Emperor Kinju and enlists Dreamcast Magazine to teach readers how to play import games. The article, "Watch Out Y'all," warns of the perils of import gaming, highlighting that import games are often more expensive, citing Phantasy Star Online. It also cautions about the risk of burning out a Dreamcast due to power supply differences, advising readers to use a step-down power converter. Foreign Talk discusses the language barrier, noting that while it's not a problem for beat-em-ups or racing games, it can make adventure games and RPGs unplayable, using Shenmue as an example. 3 Steps to Gaming Heaven offers advice on playing import games, detailing 3 methods: buying an import machine, chipping your Dreamcast, or using an exploder disc. 5 of the Best lists top import titles, including Samba de Amigo vs. .2000, Giant Graham 2000, Guilty Gear X, Virtual On and Dance Dance Revolution 2nd Mix. This page features a review of Sega Smash Pack Volume 1. The reviewer delves into a collection of old Sega Mega Drive titles, including Streets of Rage 2, Golden Axe, Virtua Cop 2, Shining Force, and Vectorman. The reviewer is clearly underwhelmed, noting that the games don't quite recapture their original magic in this compilation, and comments on audio effects in Golden Axe, sounding like they've been ported from a pre-release version of Pong. The reviewer offers his somewhat scathing opinions, rating the games from 2/10 to 7/10. It also includes an info burst section, with humorous and somewhat dubious facts about Sonic the Hedgehog. The next page features a collection of import reviews. Sonic the Hedgehog gets a 7/10, praised as a good conversion but with some slowdown. Phantasy Star 2 scores 5/10. Altered Beast gets a 4/10. And Revenge of Shinobi is given a 2/10. The reviewer also comments on the sound quality of the older games in the compilation, stating that there are difficulties and you could buy the games and a Mega Drive for the price, so why bother? Wrestle War gets a 4/10, being described as a terrible game, with no redeeming features. Dreamcast rating on the compilation is 47%. This page is a review of Fire Pro Wrestling D for the Dreamcast. The reviewer, Martin Mathers, praises the game's depth, customization options, and comprehensive gameplay, proclaiming it one of the most comprehensive and downright playable wrestling games we've ever seen, ultimately calling it an absolute must-purchase. Simon Phillips provides a second opinion, noting that the retro graphics might deter some, but the gameplay is excellent. The review mentions a vast roster of over 220 wrestlers, numerous match types, and the ability to create your own characters. A table highlights the Dreamcast rating, with scores of 80% for visuals, 82% for sounds, 93% for gameplay, and 94% for value, culminating in an overall score of 87%. There are also mentions of Giant Graham 2000 and WWF Royal Rumble as alternative wrestling games for the Dreamcast. The page also features screenshots of the game, and a small advert for a website with information about Fire Pro Wrestling. This page is a review for Guilty Gear X. The reviewer states that ARC challenged Capcom with this 2-dimensional beat-em-up. The reviewer states that the detail on everything is at least as good as Capcom vs SNK, and in some areas surpasses it, and some of the moves lean more towards Dark Stalkers than Street Fighter. The reviewer states that coming at this expecting Street Fighter, and you'll be ever slightly disappointed. A second opinion praises the game's characters and spectacular instant death moves, calling it a beat-em-up that doesn't have Ryu and Ken in it. The review includes sections titled The Judgment and Hair-Raising Moves. The Judgment section weighs the game's pros and cons, noting great destruction moves and graphics, but pointing out that it's not as fluid as Street Fighter. It also mentions Capcom vs SNK and Street Fighter Alpha 3 as alternative games. The Dreamcast rating is 90% for visuals, 86% for sounds, 81% for gameplay, and 74% for value. The overall rating is 80%. The page also features screenshots of the game and the characters. Charka. The next page features a review of Cannon Spike, a shoot-'em-up game developed by Sikyo and published by Cap.com. The reviewer, Martin Mathers, compares it to Smash TV, highlighting the large guns and enemy hordes. He notes that the game has some interesting touches, but can feel repetitive, and criticizes the lack of extra content in this arcade conversion. Capcom characters like Charlie and Cammy feature. The review's judgment section praises the Madcap blasting action and Capcom characters, but points out the lack of extra options, and that it might not be great value for money. Alex Warren's second opinion suggests the game is a fun arcade title, but ultimately more suitable as a rental than a purchase. Alternative games mentioned are Bangai Zero and Silent Scope. The Dreamcast rating is 83% for visuals, 80% for sounds, 76% for gameplay, and 44% for value, resulting in an overall score of 62%. The page includes screenshots of the game, featuring characters and intense action. There's also an infoburst section with extra information, noting that Arthur from Ghosts and Goblins is the oldest Capcom character available in Cannon Spike, followed by Megaman. It also humorously comments on the number of Dreamcast games completed in less than a day. A small online information snippet promotes VGmuseum.com for Capcom's past games. Tech. This page is a full-spread advert for unique logos and tones for your Nokia, Sagem or Motorola. It includes lists of ringtones under categories such as pop, film/TV, and football. The page also highlights some great graphics and offers more options on their website, which may also provide additional details. Also has some cars and a competition to win Mad Catz peripherals. Other features include Stuff and Nonsense and 2 games special, with guides to Daytona USA 2001 and Project Justice. The regular section includes Mailbox, Reader Reviews, Directory, Dream On, and Dream Moment. This page contains the Interact Mailbox section, where readers share their thoughts and questions about the Dreamcast. One reader, Rod Hull, praises the magazine and discusses the DC emulation scene, mentioning emulators for NES, SNES, Spectrum, MSX, Game Boy, and Quake. Another reader, I Shrovit, raves about Phantasy Star Online and suggests a VMU feature. James Giles shares his love for pancakes. Hey Chris, Van Beethoven, Snooks, asks about the noise coming from his Dreamcast while playing Virtua Tennis or Dream Arena. Daniel Strong describes his nightmare in America, relating to the lack of Dreamcast games in Florida compared to the abundance of PS2 titles. A reader called Zealot Uras expresses frustration with people focusing on the PS2's success over the Dreamcast's merits, mentioning games like Crazy Taxi 2, Sonic Adventure 2, Quake 2 Arena, and Soul Calibur. The Shortcuts section includes humorous reader comments. The Poet's Corner features a poem dedicated to Sega's history. This page showcases reader reviews for 4 Dreamcast games. Paul Bryans reviews Marvel vs. Capcom 2, expressing nostalgia for beat-em-ups. Mark Keeley reviews Choo Choo Rocket, calling it addictive, and noting the online multiplayer fun. Stephen Collins reviews Sega Bass Fishing and expressing his disappointment with the game despite liking the visuals. Rob Mitchell reviews Vigilante 8, Second Offense, praising its gameplay and recommending it to fans of driving and shooting games. There are also some overall score ratings of those games to round things off. It also features an advert for a free Mad Catz Dreampad for every reader review. There's also an advert for Telegames, promoting Game Boy Color versions of classic games like Shamus, Towers, Yar's Revenge and Rhino Rumble. Finally, a GameStation advert promotes pre-owned and new Dreamcast games and states that they are the largest independent retailer of video games in the UK, with phone numbers to call to inquire about buying and selling of games with a list of games and prices. This page dives into the Dreamcast's online capabilities. It starts with instructions on how to get online, from plugging in the modem to registering at Dream Arena. It also shows the options you can access with the left and right shoulder buttons, like Home, Bookmark, Jump, Mail, Chat, and Disconnect, along with quick descriptions of each function. There's a Website of the Month feature, this time highlighting The Onion, a satirical newspaper site. The reviewer has featured this hilarious satire site before. In the film section, there's a roundup of movie-related sites including Antitrust and other teen horror films. The music section features Pop Stars, a band program. In the comedy section, there's The Simpsons, Dilbert and Futurama websites. The weird section has Am I Hot or Not? Plus some strange pics with men who look like Kenny Rogers. Finally, there's a competition to win X-Men Evolution goodies, with a question about Wolverine's skeleton and the address to send your answers. A phone number offers Dreamcast game help for £1.50 per minute. The next page, titled Dreamcast Solutions, offers cheats and tips for several games. First up is Phantasy Star Online, with tips on unlocking hidden artwork, extra settings, and alternate costume colors by entering specific character names, including Fomal, Phonewhirl, PhoneWM, Huecast, Humar, Hunewhirl, Raycasil, Raycat and Ramar, each with a corresponding name code. Guilty Gear X is also featured, with unlock instructions for Testament and Dizzy. Players need to reach specific levels in Survivor mode, and then beat them to unlock the characters, and complete Arcade mode without continues to view character endings. Rainbow Six, Rogue Spear, has an Allen 1 cheat code activated by holding LA plus B plus Y plus Y, and pressing down. Le Mans 24 Hours includes cheats to unlock all tracks, cars and championships by entering specific names like Goose, Monster, and Carnage. Players can also unlock the Jaguar X Near 9 concept car and change the replay camera angles with the Y button. The Grinch has tips on how to unlock minigames by destroying a certain number of gifts, such as Spin and Win, Pankamania, Copter Race, and the Bike Race minigame. Championship Surfer has a cheat to unlock Iceman by completing the game on Pro difficulty. Finally, there's a long list of codes for various games using the Exploder device, including Crazy Taxi, Gauntlet Legends, and Hydro Thunder. This page is the queue, and a section where readers send in their gaming questions. Someone struggling with Resident Evil code, Veronica, and needs help finding a gem, an extinguisher, and serum for Claire. The advice is rather blunt, suggesting they've missed an item and might be screwed. Another reader needs Star Lancer tips, and the reply advises a focus on gun turrets and detonating charges. A gamer seeks help with a password in an office door scenario, and the response sarcastically suggests they need grammar lessons. Finally, someone can't play as Supersonic in Sonic Adventure, and they're told to persevere with the story. There's also the Beat Yourself Challenge, with 3 games up for grabs: Jet Set Radio, Samba de Amigo, and Ferrari 355 Challenge, with details on how to enter by submitting proof of scores, plus a call to all cheaters to be named and shamed. Also featured is a DVD review advert, with Jennifer Lopez on the cover. On the right of the page there is a Cheats Unlimited advert, listing various games including Warrington Also Fihe Yeska, Gauntlet Legends, GTA 2, Half-Life, House of the Dead 2, Hydro Thunder, Jet Set Radio, Jedi Power Battles, Marvel vs. Capcom 1 and 2, MDK 2, NBA 2K, and NFL 2K. The next page provides tips and tricks for Daytona USA 2001. It mentions that the pits are useless, advises against touching the grass or sand, and suggests nudging opponents for a speed boost. It recommends using a steering wheel for a more arcade-like experience. Manual gears are the best choice for faster lap times. There's also advice on jump starts. Jess. This page gives the lowdown on how to conquer the 3-7 Speedway, basically Daytona, and Dinosaur Canyon in Daytona, USA 2001. The guide offers advice for each track, breaking down the trickiest sections. For 3-7 Speedway, it's all about mastering the Mount Sonic hairpin, and offers advice on how to take other corners too. For Dinosaur Canyon, it highlights the importance of power sliding, and provides tips on navigating the uphill and fossil curve sections, making sure you avoid those pesky walls. This page continues the track guides, focusing on Seaside Street Galaxy and Desert City. It offers strategies for navigating tight bends and tricky sections in Seaside Street Galaxy, like the Scurv and Television Tunnel, while suggesting power sliding in second gear for best results. For Desert City, it highlights the U-turn and balloon turn, advising players on how to power slide and avoid hitting walls. This page continues the track guides, now showcasing National Park Speedway and Circuit Pixie from the game. For National Park Speedway, the guide suggests staying on the inside for the banked turn, and easing off the accelerator if you're about to touch the wall. It also provides tips for the Triple S, BEND, uphill right, and last bend. Circuit Pixie is described as the easiest track, with suggestions for full-speed navigation through banked curves, as well as how to tactically nudge opponents off course. This page continues the track guides, moving on to Rin Rin Rink and Mermaid Lake. Rin Rin Rink, the second Dreamcast exclusive track, is described as having fast banked turns and tight hairpins, with advice for the waterfall turn, satellite corner, and banked curve. Mermaid Lake starts with a huge banked turn and forms a figure 8. Tips are given for the tiny scurve, gentle curve, and final right angle, advising braking after passing the overhead pit sign. The page also features car settings and a brief review of the in-game vehicles, suggesting the Hornet for Daytona veterans, the Grasshopper for handling, the Falcon for looks, and the Lightning for speed and power sliding. The next page delivers a comprehensive guide to Project Justice on the Dreamcast, a beat-em-up game with tips and tricks. It features character move lists, combos, and juggles for Kyosuke, Chairperson, Hinata, Batsu, and Ran. A Keep Moving section explains the button layout and notation used in the guide. A That Doesn't Work section offers general combo advice. Screenshots of the characters in action accompany the move lists, along with gameplay information such as damage and hit count for certain moves. This page continues the Project Justice strategy guide, offering move lists and combos for the characters Natsu, Roberto, Gan, Daigo, Edge, Shoma, Momo, and Nagare. It includes standard moves, burning vigor attacks, team party moves, launches, juggles, high juggles, and standard combos for each character. Accompanying screenshots illustrate the character's moves. The next page presents a solution guide detailing moves for characters in a fighting game. The guide covers burning Batsu, Akira, Bowman, Roy, Hayato, Hio, Zaki, and Eureka, outlining their standard moves, burning vigor attacks, team party moves, launch options, juggles, high juggles, and standard combos, each accompanied by action screenshots. This page continues the solution guide, providing move lists and action screenshots for characters in a fighting game. It details standard moves, burning vigor attacks, team party moves, launch options, juggles, high juggles, and standard combos for Kyoko, Tiffany, Hideo, Wild Daigo, Kuro, Demon Hyo, Vatsu, and Powered Akira. This page is a chow-titic collage of adverts, offering everything from prank phone numbers and ringtones, to discount condoms and cut-price video games. There are also ads for console furniture, a video game center, interesting devices, and cheats, plus a Neo Geo game, and a Game Boy Advance. It's a real mixed bag of stuff. This page is a directory of Dreamcast games, along with information like the publisher, number of players, VM compatibility, online functionality, useful peripherals, the issue in which it was reviewed, and a rating. The directory includes a selection of games spanning various genres, from action-adventure to sports and strategy. Some notable games listed include ECW Anarchy Ruiz, F1 Racing Championship, Ferrari 355 Challenge, Frogger 2, Grandia 2, Half-Life, Hydro Thunder, and Crazy Taxi. The reviewers also offer some rather frank opinions on the games, like calling ECW Anarchy Ruiz utter arse. There are DVD reviews for The Rock, Criterion Edition, and The Emperor's New Groove, The Ultimate Groove. This page features a continuation of game reviews from the directory, providing a snapshot of the Dreamcast gaming landscape. Games such as NFL Blitz 2000, NHL 2K, and Phantasy Star Online are covered, along with insightful and sometimes humorous commentary. For example, NFL Quarterback Club 2000 is described as American football at its worst, while Pen Pen is called daft. The page also includes comic reviews, such as JLA Earth 2 and Spawn, Resurrection, and album reviews, including Everclear, Songs from an American Movie, Volume 2, and Stereophonics, Just Enough Education to Perform. Fire Pro Wrestling D, Coaster Works, and Guilty Gear X are featured in the most played section. The page finishes with best in genre selections of Dreamcast games. It champions the must-own games as Resident Evil, Code Veronica, Soul Calibur, MSR, Choo Choo Rocket, Starlancer, Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 2, and Hidden and Dangerous. This page continues the game directory with import titles, listing publisher, player count, VM compatibility, online support, peripheral usage, and a rating. Titles like Aero Dancing F and Super Magnetic Neo are featured, with reviewers providing short takes. There's also a Second Coming segment where games like Wacky Races and Wafer Striker get rescored based on updated opinions, and a section dedicated to Tokyo Highway Challenge. The next page presents a collection of quirky toys and gadgets. It's a humorous roundup of items that appeal to the inner child, ranging from Button Moon soft toys and a rabbit go-kart, to a Rome 2 MP3 player and a bog monster, with many featuring Golden Bear manufacturers. Also featured are Gundam Wing W models, X-Men Evolution figurines, giant clangers, and a miniature fridge. Floating Globe is also featured. This page features the Dreamcast Magazine cover, touting Crazy Taxi 2 as the exclusive first play. There are screenshots of that game. The magazine also covers Unreal Tournament, Confidential Mission, and Spider-Man in the next issue. There's a reader reservation form, a rundown of the magazine's core values, such as reviewing UK, Japanese, and American games, cheats, competitions, and news. Also featured is Shenmue 2, Sonic Adventure 2, and Floygan Brothers. This page brings back some memories. There's a back-issue order form for Dreamcast Magazine, in case you missed any gems. They're highlighting issues 1 through 20, each featuring cover stars and reviews. We're talking Soul Calibur, Resident Evil 2, Crazy Taxi, MDK2, Shenmue, and more, with a stack of reviews for games like Virtua Fighter, Tony Hawk's, and F1 World Grand Prix. The page then has a subscription form offering 6 issues of Dreamcast Magazine. They are pushing the direct debit option for a discount. Coney Hawk. The next page is an advert, offering a treasure trove of imported games, accessories and merchandise from Project K. They're dealing in PlayStation, PlayStation 2, and Dreamcast imports and selling Japanese merchandise, from keychains, models and soundtracks. There's a chunk of stuff to get through here, so it would be best to check out the website to see for yourself. The right side of the page is a full-on advert for mobile phone ringtones and graphics. Get your Nokia buzzing with retro style. The page is packed with a dizzying selection of ringtones and graphics, with the order line and website to visit for more options. This page is a review of Samba de Amigo for the Dreamcast. It's a rhythm action game involving shaking maracas in time to the music. The reviewer thinks it's a blast, saying it's one of the wackiest games to grace a console. The page includes screenshots of the colorful gameplay, and some cheeky humor about shaking your ass and swinging your hips. It claims that there will be classic songs from the likes of La Bamba, To Take On Me and Tequila, May Barsons. The right side of the page is an advert filled with Dreamcast games, DVDs, accessories, and more. Starbuy is Toy Racer for £4.99, with savings on titles like Giant Killers, Quake 3, Shenmue, Tetris, Skies of Arcadia, and Phantasy Star Online. They're offering Dreamcast consoles with bundled games and Dreamcast essentials like controllers and memory cards. There's also a Game Boy Advance pre-order offer. They're shouting about free gifts for new members, including things like Hydro Thunder, Dreamcast SCART leads and controllers. They list contact details for various shops around the UK, as well as a website and phone number.